All right, hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Aaron. I'm an alcoholic, and yeah, here's the letter on Bill's letter on emotional sobriety. It says, "I think that many AA oldsters who have put our I think that many oldsters who have put our AA booze cure to severe but successful tests still find that they often lack emotional sobriety. Perhaps this will be the next spearhead for the next major development in AA, the development of a much more real maturity and balance, which is to say humility, in our relations with ourselves, with our fellows, and with God. Those adolescent urges that so many of us have for top approval, perfect security, and perfect romance, urges quite appropriate to age 17, prove to be an impossible way of life when we are age 47 or 57. Since AA began, I've taken immense wallops in all these areas because of my failure to grow up emotionally and spiritually. My God, how painful it is to keep demanding the impossible, and how very painful to discover finally that all along we have had the cart before the horse. Then comes the final agony of seeing how awfully wrong we had been, but still finding ourselves unable to get off the emotional merry-go-round. How to translate a right mental conviction into a right emotional result, and so into easy, happy, and good living. Well, that's not only the neurotics problem, it's the problem of life itself for all of us who have gotten to the point of a real willingness to hew the right principles in all our affairs. Even then, as we hew away, peace and joy may still elude us. That's the place so many of us AA oldsters have come to, and it's a hell of a spot, literally. How shall our unconscious, from which so many of our fears, compulsions, and phony aspirations still stream, be brought into line with what we actually believe, know, and want? How to convince our dumb, raging, and hidden Mr. Hyde becomes our main task. I've recently come to believe that this can be achieved. I believe so because I begin to see many benighted ones, folks like you and me, commencing to get results. Last autumn, several years back, depression, having no really rational cause at all, almost took me to the cleaners. I began to be scared that I was in for another long chronic spell. Considering the grief I've had with depressions, it wasn't a bright prospect. I kept asking myself, why can't the 12 steps work to release my depression? By the hour, I stared at the St. Francis prayer. It is better to comfort than to be comforted. Here was the formula, all right, but why didn't it work? Suddenly, I realized what the matter was. My basic flaw had always been dependence, almost absolute dependence on people or circumstances to supply me with prestige, security, and the like. You, we good? All right. Hang on a second, that screwed me up. All right, failing to get these things according to my perfectionist dreams and specifications, I had fought for them. And when defeat came, so did my depression. There wasn't a chance of making the outgoing love of St. Francis a workable and joyous way of life until these fatal and almost absolute dependencies were cut away. Because I had over the years undergone a little spiritual development, the absolute quality of these frightful dependencies had never before been so starkly revealed. Reinforced by what grace I could secure in prayer, I found I had to exert every ounce of will and action to cut off these faulty emotional dependencies upon people, upon AA, indeed upon any set of circumstances whatsoever. Then only could I be free to love as Francis had. Emotional and instinctual satisfactions I saw were really the extra dividends of having love, offering love, and expressing a love appropriate to each relation of life. Plainly, I cannot avail myself of God's love until I was able to offer it back to him by loving others as he would have me. And I couldn't possibly do that so long as I was victimized by false dependencies. For my dependency meant demand, a demand for the possession and control of the people and conditions surrounding me. While those words absolute demand may look like a gimmick, they were the ones that helped to trigger my release into my present degree of stability and quietness of mind, qualities which I am now trying to consolidate by offering love to others regardless of their return to me. This seems to be the primary healing circuit, an outgoing love of God's creation and his people by means of which we avail ourselves of his love for us. It is most clear that the current can't flow until our paralyzing dependencies are broken and broken in depth. Only then can we possibly have a glimmer of what adult love really is. Here we go, Sam. You ready? Spiritual calculus, you say? Not a bit of it. Watch any AA of 6 months working on a new 12-step case. If the case says to the devil with you, the 12-stepper only smiles and turns to another case. He doesn't feel frustrated or rejected. If his next case responds and in turn starts to give love and attention to other alcoholics, yet gives none back to him, the sponsor is happy about it anyway. He still doesn't feel rejected. Instead, he rejoices that his one-time prospect is sober and happy. And if his next following case turns out in later time to be his best friend or romance, then the sponsor is most joyful. But he well knows that his happiness is a byproduct, the extra dividend of giving love without any demand for return. This is the really stabilizing thing for him. The really stabilizing thing for him was having and offering love to that strange drunk on his doorstep. That was Francis at work, powerful and practical, minus dependency and minus demand. In the first 6 months of my own recovery, I worked hard with many alcoholics. Not a one responded, yet this work kept me sober. It wasn't a question of those alcoholics giving me anything. My stability came out of trying to give, not out of demanding that I receive. Thus, I think it can work out with emotional sobriety. If we examine every disturbance we have, great or small, we will find at the root of it some unhealthy dependency and its consequent unhealthy demand. Let us, with God's help, continually surrender these hobbling demands. Then we can be set free to live in love. We may then be able to 12-step ourselves and others into emotional sobriety. Of course, I haven't offered you a really new idea, only a gimmick that has started to unhook several of my own hexes at depth. Nowadays, my brain no longer races compulsively in either elation, grandiosity, or depression. I've been given a quiet place in the bright sunshine. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Man, every week I feel so blessed when I look at all these people on the screen and how much I'm really becoming so fond of everyone in these Thursday nights. So thanks everyone for participating. This Thursday, I know Zoom, if you've ever spoken at a Zoom meeting, it can be a little bit challenging when you don't have like some good audience participation. So every now and then we could throw like an amen or something in there for Elaine. I was at I gave the worst damn talk I've ever given the other Saturday. There were like 3 people up in this screen right here, and the rest of them were all blanked, you know, and I almost stopped halfway through. You know what? Let's just all do something else. You know what I mean? Like, this is, yeah. So I've heard Elaine's talk several times because I replayed it. I think she is a really awesome woman. I don't want to take up too much. I don't want to take up any of her time, but I'm so glad she agreed to come on tonight. And Elaine, take it away.
Hey, everybody. My name is Elaine, and I'm an alcoholic. Oh my gosh, Sam, thanks for giving me a holler and asking me to do this. Good to see all your little faces. Hey, I'm used to talking like this. I'm an online school teacher. I've decided that I have my own variety show. That's my whole trick now. I'm like, oh, I finally got a TV show. So I'm a little bit geeky. You're going to notice I get all up in the screen because I have to try to keep teenagers engaged on this format all day long. So I'm used to it, okay? And again,
God bless you.
Am I too loud? I'm loud, so get used to that too. So, so thanks for asking me to be here. And I see some friendly faces in these little squares, and that always makes my heart happy. And I also know that I've got a bunch of people out here who, man, you know what I'm doing, okay? You know what I'm talking about, and you're my people. So just a couple of the deets, if you will, the old, the tagline, whatever that is. Let's see, my name is Elaine. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is the 7th of July of 2001. So that means this year I celebrated 19 years sober in quarantine. Imagine that. I stayed sober. Hell yes, I did. I'll try not to cuss because I'm also a professional. But I have a home group here I'm in northern Colorado, Fort Collins, Colorado. Beautiful. It's beautiful. A little smoky tonight. It's a little bit smoky tonight, but it's okay. We're okay. Let's see. I have a home group. It is the Women of Faith. We meet at 9:30 on Saturday morning. We are currently in the Zoom format. We're a closed meeting. We have, we're super we have jobs. We love jobs. You know what I mean? I am the alternate secretary. I was the secretary for about 500 years, it felt like. So don't let me near the treasury. I have problems with math. I'm not very, it's a thing. So I won't be doing that, but I love it. Okay. I love my ladies and I love my home group and I love AA in Northern Colorado. So if you ever come here, please reach out to us. I have found the best way to contact AA when you're traveling. We will travel again, y'all. This is just temporary. Just so y'all remember, I've been telling everybody that I've been coming in contact with, alcoholics are built for pandemics. Hey, we love trauma. This is where we're thriving, everybody. Hey, I feel like that. I don't know if you feel like that, but that's how I feel today. This is like, give us adversity, give an alcoholic adversity, and that's where we shine. And that's what's so exciting about this letter. That's what's so exciting about sobriety today, is that we're okay. We're just fine. And with the help of others and with the help, I mean, we figured this thing out on the fly, y'all. Hey, we're like, all right, I guess we're going to meet in Zoom. And we did it. Hey, we did it. And we overcame like some of the issues with, the Zoom bombers and all that crap. We survived. Hey, and we're going to thrive. We're thriving. And that's what I think this letter's about. I got to read it, and can somebody send me a link to that last part? That part doesn't show up on the internet letters. Is that everybody's experience? Sam, if anybody can drop that into the chat, I want to open that full part, because that last little part about the hooking it up situation, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't read that part. So I want to make
that's the VIP version, Elaine. That's the VIP version.
Can I
okay?
VIP? Hello?
Yeah, we'll get that for you.
I earned my stripes. Oh, it's in language of the heart too. Thanks, Dave. Again, I was just looking at it on the internet. So I'll be looking for this. Okay. I'll be looking for this. So thanks, Tony. Me too. Let's see, what else did I want to talk to you about before I started addressing this letter? Man, I love Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay. Again, in my neck of the woods, people call me the cheerleader of AA, and I am totally fine with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I was brought up in strong sponsorship lineage that directly relates to FOTS, to you people. Again, I come out of, Don P's lineage. The group that I go to a lot is called RUS in Loveland. Don B and Bob J and Bill C and all those old critters, man. Hey, I go every week. Hey, those old dogs, I sit at their feet. Hey, I'm resting on the shoulders of giants. And everything I say is completely unoriginal. I am a big book girl. I bring my book to meetings. I didn't bring one. I brought two tonight because I figured you guys you're playing the big dogs over here. So I figured I better show up. Hey, the oldsters. I figured, this is the deacons up here, so I better know what the hell I'm talking about. So we do book studies. We always do them in the fall. So we're going to do a book study on Zoom. If you want to know more about that, send me a message and I will gladly hook you into it. I've been taught how to do that. That's how I was trained. I'm a teacher. I don't know, man. I like discipline. Isn't that weird? I always thought I was a punk rock girl. And I'm like, what punk rock? And then I'm like, oh, I really thrive on structure. I thrive on structure. So, and I hope you do too. So every fall we do a book study. And again, it's usually co-ed and everybody's welcome. We read through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, first 164 and Bob's story, because that's part of the deal too, right? Why'd they put him out? Why do you go? Anyways, whatever. That's for somebody else's business, not mine. But we read it and we study it. Hey, I become a student. Hey, and I want to be disciplined. Okay, and I want to know, hey, when my sponsees come to me with a problem, hey, I can look to them and I say, I don't know, hey, but I think we can find it on a page in here. Hey, and I believe that. Okay, and I believe it. Like, we got a divinely inspired textbook. And again, it was put together by these critters. Hey, did anybody put that letter in there yet? Let me see. Okay, I don't need this. I'm just going to start at the top of it. So beautiful reading, beautiful thoughts, old Bill Wilson. I've always said I was the Bill Wilson girl. when I think about like Bill and Bob, I love Bob too, don't get me wrong. Like reading Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, like that's, now I'm a Bob girl too, but Bill was a little bit more flamboyant. He's loud like me and kind of sassy. And, I was like, well, what? I'm a showboat. I feel like I'm a Bill Wilson girl. Again, Bill and I would have got along fine, But I love Bob's steadfastness too. And, adherence. Again, man, that guy was just like, I don't know. I need that calm. And that's where Jeff comes in. Just kidding. All right. So, when I think about this letter and I looked at it, man, I spent a lot of my time in early sobriety living out of adolescent urges. I came to this thing. I was 30 when I got sober. So I should have known better. That's a great song by one of my favorite musicians. But anyways, I should have known better, but I was talking to a friend about this very thing last night, that a lot of the time that I think that I was supposed to be growing up, I was drinking, and I was actively destroying myself. I wasn't learning lessons like that adults learn. Even though I was I was already a parent, I had a college degree, I had a job. By outward appearances, right? I was fine. But in inward reality, I was super immature. And that is something to this day that I get to address on the daily basis. Beautiful. Thanks, Chris, for putting that in there so I can address that. Beautiful. You're the man. Okay. So when I was supposed to be maturing, again, I was flailing, and I was acting impulsively, and it's been something that has continued to haunt me through my sobriety. I'm a very stubborn and willful child, again, and I want what I want. Talk about control. I read that in that letter too, man. That's one of my big dependencies. I'm going to control this situation, and you know, I can see it. I know when I'm trying to do it, my little jaw sets. I'm all and you're all in trouble because once my little mind is set, everybody's in trouble because I'm not listening to you, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make you do what I want you to do. It's crazy to look at, and I'm really grateful that there are lots of outside help. I'm a big fan of therapy. I'm a big fan of other programs. I'm a huge fan of Al-Anon family groups, adult children of alcoholics. I mean, give me a 12-step program and I am doing it because, man, this stuff just works. And I want to grow, and sometimes that's not easy. Sometimes teenage Elaine really doesn't want to change. She doesn't want to change. Okay, so it talks about top approval, perfect security, and perfect romance. That's hilarious, right? So for me, approval, I'm a PhD candidate. Again, I'm, Dr. Holmes. Maybe if I finish the damn dissertation, whatever. Perfect security. I'm a school teacher. I'll never be perfectly secure. I'm poor my whole life, so I'm not going to worry about that one. But that perfect romance, when I read that phrase, I'm like, oh no. Oh no, that's there's always a thorn, isn't there? There's always a hook that gets us, and I'm like, that's my hook. That we're appropriate at age 17 proved to be impossible when we're 47 or 57. I turned 50 this year. 50, nifty, 50. I'm not worried about it. I'm alive. Some people get all spun out about getting old. Dude, I am alive. I am sober. I live this beautiful life. It's stupid. I took this walk this morning, y'all. In the mountains of Colorado. Shut your pie hole. It was amazing. There's birds flying over. I'm with another sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. What more do you need, Well, a date. How about a date, God? So there's the rub, right? When I don't get what I want, and again, that perfect romance, I don't even know what that is. Again, I've been married and divorced to a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know, and divorced. I'll never forget when I announced it. I was at an AA meeting. He had proposed to me, and we went to a meeting, and I said something out loud. I was like, so-and-so just proposed to me. And a member of AA walks up to me and goes, great, now we have to plan another AA divorce. And he was right. Anyways, I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, thanks, buddy, for your vote of confidence. That's awesome. It just cracked me up. Okay, it just cracks me up. So I think that when we want absolutes, I want this security that I don't know that we're ever gonna have, everybody. And Bill never had it. I mean, he had some, but he lived at stepping stones. Let's be honest. Again, the fellowship took care of him. He never got to be money guy. He always wanted to be money. He wanted to be money so bad, and he never got to be money. So when I think about sometimes, I think about Bill as your heart breaks a little bit. And then on top of that, as he addresses in this essay, he talks about this crippling depression. Again, what you want to, whether you call that outside issues or whatever, that's real. And as sponsors, again, so that's chemical imbalances, again, in my brain chemistry are not, that's not my affliction. And so but I have a lot of friends in Alcoholics Anonymous that struggle greatly with their mental health. And that is, again, that's on us as shoulder to shoulder, trusted servants. That's what we do is we talk to our people and we're like, man, you got to get some help. You got to get some help. And I love that. I love that and the book says it. It's as clear as the nose on your face. Hey, make good use of doctors and psychiatrists. You're not a doctor or a psychiatrist. You might be, but you shouldn't be diagnosing your sponsees. Wow, there she goes. I feel grateful that was very clearly stated in our literature. So I think Bill, I'm like, oh, Bill would have done, maybe he would have been helped by some of our modern stuff, but I don't know. So here he says, I've been taking immense wallops because of my failure to grow up, not only emotionally, but then there's that huge next part, that spiritually. Okay. And I happen to have a sponsor, y'all, that is like, I don't know. I love her. I love her dearly. When she walks into a room, whether it's a real room or a Zoom room, I'm like, the mothership has landed. And if you don't feel like that about your sponsor, get a new sponsor. I love her. Like, she's a poetry professor. She speaks in poems. Like, I come to her with problems and she like recites like this crazy poetry. I'm like, how the hell you remember all that? But whatever. But she has guided me in these last, I've been with her, I think I've been with her for like 6 years now. I've had 4 sponsors and all of them are amazing. I love those broads. Every sobriety birthday I have, I call all of them. I'm like, I love you. I love you. You know, they changed my life. And each of them gave me a different part of my reality. And this current one, man, she's my spiritual guide, you know, and she's amazing. Hey, she's amazing about like reminding me that God is here. Hey, that this is God's deal. You know, you know, she always constantly reminds me, she's like, Elaine, just put it in God's lap. They put it in God's lap. Her big one, and I bought the damn book, but I haven't read it because there's another sign of emotional immaturity. I'm like, I'll buy the book. It's like, I think it's called The Course in Miracles. And she loves that. She quotes it all the time. And sure enough, it's I know where it's at. It's sitting right under that table over there. I can point to it. I haven't cracked that thing. Hey, that's another sign of emotional sobriety, right? Hey, buying books but not reading them. Maybe I should read that book. Thanks for that reminder. I guess I got homework. Thank you. So it says, you know, this idea that I've taken emotional wallops and how painful that can be. Hey, and he's using the word painful and agony. Hey, oh my gosh, and how awfully wrong. Hey, Bill writes in these big words, and those adjectives mean a lot to me when he uses those types of terminology. Hey, because what I find myself again is on that emotional merry-go-round. Hey, and it's me beating my head against the wall over the same stuff. And you know what I'm talking about. Okay, those of you who've been around for a little time or a long time or a little time, there's like, you're like, am I having to deal with this again? Hey, do I really have to write and do step work on this issue again? And I know you all have those. You know, I've got them for sure. And it mostly has to do with human relationships. Again, I just get confused by people. And then when I get confused by them and they don't do what I want to do, I try to control them and they rebel. It says this is in our textbook, everybody. But why do I get to keep relearning that lesson? Why do I get to keep relearning that lesson? Because that's okay. And that's what I love about like this letter, the context of this letter, is he's saying, hey, he's however many years, what year did he write this mother in? Is there a year on this mother? Anybody? Anyways, yeah. Look it up.
58. Was it 1953?
1953?
Okay. 58.
58. Thank you.
Yep.
So he had been sober, I don't know, a little over, almost like what, do the math. I don't know how to do math. I suck at math. I mean, a couple decades, right? Right there. So he gets sober, right? 35? So again, I mean, it's right there. So, and then he lived until like 1970. He died the year I was born. So, I mean, he's still struggling. So anybody who like, if you're new to this deal and you're like, man, I'm never going to get an emotional sobriety, stick around. you get to keep learning. That's what's awesome. And I know I've talked to my beloved sponsor so many times and been like, I'm so sorry you have to hear this again. I'm so sorry that I have to, like, I keep having to do this over and over. And then she'll remind me, and this is what the beautiful, like, relationships, when you think about like your sponsors, she'll remind me, she'll be like, Elaine, you've shown so much growth. She'll be like, remember 6 months ago when you were spun out on this? She's like, you're not even talking about that anymore. We have worked on that. We've done the work. You have grown, hey, and you're going to continue to grow. God, that's beautiful, everybody. What that's like so then he's talking about this, like, so how to try, you know, so I'm following along because I'm a teacher. I follow the text. He talks about how to translate right mental conviction into right mental results. And then into easy, happy living. That's not only the neurotics problem. I think that's everybody's problem. Like I don't know, sometimes, you know, we always call like other people the normies or them or they. I think everybody does this, y'all. Hey, they're just not as like vocal about it. Like, well, look at me, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. No, I don't know. Sometimes I bitch, sometimes I'm crazy, but a lot of times I suffer silently too. You know, when I think about that, hey, this emotional, like, you know, there's wallops. Okay, again, that they can be very painful and be very painfully. Oh, and I think that's even scarier, to be honest. Like longtime members of Alcoholics Anonymous who show up to meetings and like try to look all good all the time. You know, if you don't look good, hey, you got to tell on yourself. That's my favorite when a member of our program who like walks in with real life problems, no matter how long they got, and they dump it on the table and they say, this is my problem and this is how I'm solving it using the 12 steps. That's exciting. Hey, that's beautiful. That's real learning. That's a teachable moment. Hey, because life is going to continue. Like, we're going to get old. Our friends are going to get ill. Hey, our family members, we're living in a pandemic, you know. This thing is jacked, P.S. Don't watch the news. Don't watch the news. Hey, again, but when you can walk into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous and go, yeah, this thing's a dumpster fire, hey, over here, hey, but I'm here, I'm talking about recovery, hey, and I'm living it, and I'm showing you how I'm using the 12 steps to recover and live and flourish. I'm no longer about, and that's what I think whenever I read this letter over and over again, I'm about thriving. Like, I'm not about like, no, I'm getting by today, suck it up. Hey, no, man, I want to thrive. Hey, I want to be on fire for this situation. And I get to do that by going back to what Bill's going to talk about now. So how? Hey, so we're doing the work, right? He's talking about when he says the word hew. Hey, I love words. Words are so beautiful to me. To hew, when I think I've got wood all around me, when I think about to hew, hey, is to like work something. Hey, again, to really work it. So hew isn't just like I'm going to show up half-ass every once in a while and do a little step work. Hey, to hew, hey, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous is to like live them. Hey, you're not working the steps, you're living them. Hey, and again, it's a day by day. That's why we have the 10th step. You have a daily 10th step. You have daily directions. All of us do. Upon awakening, when you know, in the middle of the day when I freak out, and then when I retire at night, and everything else in between. Like, you have those instructions. Hey, it always cracks me up when people are like, I don't know how it works. I'm like, it's over here on these pages, 80 for helpful. They're right there. It's really awesome. I get very excited about that. But to hew it, hey, again, there's work. Hey, and I think I have to like, when I think about hewing, I'm like sanding off those edges. I got a lot of rough edges, everybody. Hey, again, I'm a little bit cray-cray. And I'm not even that bad crazy. I get excited. I get excited about stuff. And it says it warns of excitement too. Do you remember that in step 10? Like being fearful. Hey, again, it says the word excited. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with being excited. Oh, well, yeah, there might be. Okay, there might be. Okay. So we're hewing away. Hey, we're hewing away. And then he says, peace and joy may still elude us. Man, he calls that a hell of a spot. Okay, he calls that a hell of a spot. Okay. And then he references here, he talks about the unconscious. I teach psychology, everybody. Let the crazy bitch teach psych. Hell yes. Okay, again, when you think about, and this is Freudian in nature, so he's saying when he's talking about this, and I got to talk about this all day long in class today, so that's why I get all up in the screen again, because I was talking about it all day. Hey, it's this idea that things are, okay, again, beyond my, like, I can't get to it, hey, but it's affecting my behavior. Okay, and it's trauma. Okay, it's trauma. That's what Freud is talking about. Things that happen to us that jack us, that we don't even know why it jacks us, but I respond. That's what we're talking about. So he's talking about that, and I think he knew enough. I think Bill knew enough when he was using that term. Hey, again, that's what I read it as. Hey, so I've got these things. Hey, and he talks about your fears, hey, your compulsions, and your phony aspirations. Okay, and then it leads us to this dumb, raging, hidden Dr. Hyde. Okay, he's talking about trauma, everybody. Hey, and again, you can do your own research, and I pray that you have people that you can talk to this stuff about. Hey, but that's the stuff that in the last couple years, hey, through good sponsorship and the continuing willingness to heal, that I get to look at. Like, I've gotten to like examine, hey, using the 12 steps. Using outside people, I get to look at those things like, why do I keep making that same mistake? And it goes back to these patterns that I grew up with as a little girl. And when that little girl like starts acting like from that little girl, I can't grow. I can't grow because I'm like, la, 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 and I'm holding my ears and I'm a pill. That's what he's talking about there. So when I read that tonight again, I got all fired up. I'm like, oh my God, this is the work I've been doing. Hey, and it's exciting and it is hard. Hey, you are hewing. Hey, you are hewing this stuff away, and that is thrilling. Hey, that is thrilling. So then he talks about the next paragraph. He talks about the benighted ones. Oh, man, that's where, again, the people like in the program that when you see something going on about them. So the other class I teach is called Asian Humanities. So it's talking about, I get to talk about God all day long. Hey, that's what I talk about, whether they know it or not. Hey, I'm talking about spirituality. And when I think about benighted ones, there are people around you, hey, whether in recovery or in your spiritual life, when you see them all lit up, there's like something in their eyes, and it's not my crazy eyes, hey, but it's like something about them that you're like, man, something's going on there. Hey, I want what's going on there. And then that's again, and we've been taught how to do this in AA. That's when you say, hey, can we get a cup of coffee? Can I sit at your feet? Can I ask you how you're doing it? And that is beautiful. Like we get to ask for help from people that we honor. Like I love that, you know, and that's how I came to be with my sponsor. I was at a sponsorship workshop. My sponsor before her was moving away, and she said, Elaine, you got to find somebody else. And so we were at this sponsorship workshop, and I knew she doesn't sponsor very many people at a time because she wants to give you her full force, you know, and she's got family and a professional career. So she's really thoughtful about that, which I love, you know, and I happened to catch her at a workshop, and I was like, hey, I know that you don't sponsor very many people, but hey, that's God, y'all. That's God. Hey, again, God saw fit for me to be able to approach her. She said yes, and she helps guide me. Hey, she helps guide me. I love this story, and then I'll keep moving through the letter. And I have a timer on myself, so I don't talk too long. I don't want to hold y'all hostage. But she said to me, I was having a dark time. You know, again, the world gets pretty dark. And one time I called her and I said, Lisa, I said, it feels like the death of hope. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Dramatic much, right? The death of hope, right? Man, she didn't miss a beat. And I'll never forget it. She yelled into that telephone. She goes, you are a bearer of light, Elaine. Get your shit together. Hell yes, dude. She pulled me up by my little bootstraps and said, you cannot succumb to that darkness. You are a bearer of light, Elaine. Get your poop together. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Alcoholics Anonymous, for leading me to these spiritual benighted ones that are going to help guide me. So we go through this again, and here's Bill again. I always try to, we always are told to identify. So Bill's got depression. So you can put in whatever you're dealing with. Hey, whether it's financial insecurity or a lack of, the inability to form a relationship with another human, that talks about that in the 12 and 12. Hey, again, whatever it is, we all have our little plights. Hey, we all have our plights. So he's like, all right, how is this not working? Hey, and then I suddenly, and again, Bill, I love it. Bill has these like white light moments, right? He has those white light moments. I realized what the matter was. It's dependence. And it's dependence on people and circumstances to supply me with prestige, security, and the like. Like, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Like, nothing is ever going to be perfect. Like, I'll never be rich. Okay? I'm never going to be famous. Hey, I'm going to struggle with human relationships because humans are difficult, especially this human. Hey, it's not going to be perfect. And like, that's hard for us to swallow because we're like, we're so like greedy. Like, I'm greedy. I want it all. Hey, I got sober. God got me sober. Grace, unearned favor brought me to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I get to live this life. And so then you're like, well, if you can do that, God, why can't you do, you know what I mean? That's where I'm a child. That's where I'm a child. Hey, is that demand, okay? I want you to give this to me. And then I'm asking all of you to give it to me. I'm asking for my job, hey, for my family, for any significant other that wants to, you know, hop around with this creature. Hey, I want, you know what I mean? It's just like, that is ridiculous. Hey, and so then, and here's again where it gets into this answer. And this is, you know, I love it. And I'm going to come back to this spiritual calculus over here because that sounds like math, and math scares me. But he talks about, like, he's talking about this plainly. I could not avail myself to God's love until I was able to offer it back to him by loving others as he would have me. That makes you cry. It's so beautiful and it's so simple. You know, that brings tears to my eyes to read that line because, like, I love people in Alcoholics Anonymous, like, so much. I just, you know, as I read that line, I just think about these people that have so profoundly, like, touched me, whether they, like, knew it or not. Like, one of my mentors, and I know he was a FOTS guy before he passed away. Like, his name is Eddie H, and he's from New Orleans, and I love him so much, it just breaks my heart. That man, like, early in my sobriety, his daughter gets killed in a car accident. I was probably 6 months sober when this happened. And we went to the same club. It was a crappy Serenity club here in Fort Collins. And, man, I watched him because I knew if you had a reason to drink, that was the reason to drink. Like, if something happens to your kids, hey, that's it, right? You get a drink, right? He didn't drink. He didn't drink, and he kept showing up for his dudes. Like, he kept sponsoring, and it was, like, active, and he was there, and it was so powerful. Like, that was a huge lesson for me. Because I knew that you couldn't drink, you know, therefore no matter what, you can't drink. And it was so cool to think about that. And then fast forward, hey, he's back in New Orleans and he gets really sick. He gets brain cancer. Hey, and he calls my house and he's like, I need you to come. And I said, hell yes, I'm there. Literally, I was on the plane 2 days later. I was in New Orleans. And I got to go down there over 5 times while I got to go back and be with him as he transitioned onto his next adventure. You know, and I think about that love. Like, I loved him so much. And I'm so proud to be like his lineage. I'm from that dude. And he taught me so much. And being able to be there, to be loving, because I was scared to watch somebody transition. Some of you've had to do this for your family members and your sponsees. We've had to show up in these times. And I'll never regret that. You know, as the cancer got on him, as he deteriorated, his wife would say to me, she'd go, Elaine, your job is to talk about God. I can do that. You know, and so I would get him, like, he trusted me enough that if he got agitated, I would just say, hey, bud, we're going to read out of the big book now. And I would read the big book to him, and we would calm down, and we would keep moving forward. Hey, that is God. You know, I get so excited, and this is where I really want to finish. And I've got about 60. I set the timer for 45 minutes. I don't want to hog all the time. But he was talking, you know, when he talks about, I could not avail myself of God's love until I was able to offer it back to others as he would love me. That's the crux, everybody. That's what this is about. It's love. And I don't care what spiritual belief system you're coming from. That's it. The more I study, like, all the world's religions, and like I said, I'm a PhD candidate. I'm no joke, like, academically. But when I think about, like, the spiritual aspects of this program, that's the joy. And that's when you feel true humility, is when you're sitting down, like, you sit down face to face with another alcoholic and you read the big book and you say something to a person and you can see their shoulders drop. You know what I mean? You can, and like, you don't even know what you say half the time. But you can see that whatever words you offered, whatever direction this book offers, again, it calms people and it helps guide them through life. Like, nobody's going to make it out alive, everybody. This is it. I always tell my students this. I'm like, I hate to spoil this for y'all, but again, what does it look like while I'm here? What is the now? I'm sitting here on this computer, like looking at all your little faces, you know, and I love it. Hey, that's the now. Hey, that's what I'm doing. When Sam called me and asked me to do this, you say yes. Hey, because we've been offered this gift to like grow spiritually through helping others. God, that is, if that doesn't fire you up, then man, I don't know what the hell's wrong. Just kidding. Okay. All right. So then, so this absolute dependence that he talks about, again, so those words, absolute dependence, he says a gimmick. That's interesting, which may look like a gimmick. That's interesting that he uses that word, right? They were the ones that helped me to trigger my release into my present degree of stability. Oh my God, quietness of mind. Oh, what a promise. That's a promise. My mind doesn't get quiet very often. You know what I mean? That internal dialogue is pretty intense. But sometimes I have peace, you know, and it's so powerful. And I'm now trying to consolidate by offering this love to regardless of the of what they return to me. Okay. And then he talks about this healing circuit. Now, somebody remind me, okay, is the healing circuit before or after the spiritual calculus? Can somebody remind me?
Before, I believe.
Before.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So the healing circuit is before, the spiritual calculus. Okay. Just making sure. Dude, I love a circuit. Oh my God. I totally get it. Like, I'm not a science girl. Hey, but I love the idea of a feedback loop. Hey, I totally understand this because like Tom mentioned before, those of you who came into the meeting, I'm a music person. I love music and I love live music. Like the louder and the more obnoxious and the more banjos and the more tattoos and the more fuzziness and I love it. And that's my circuit. That's my juice. That's what runs this kid. That and being what, but maybe I'm going to be clear. I have a foundation of sobriety. Because I'm sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, I can walk into the most sordid spot on earth. This weekend, I'm supposed to be in the field in Tennessee. Hey, I'm supposed to be at a music festival with like some of the craziest people I've ever known. Hey, holding AA meetings. Hey, holding AA meetings because that's my job in that field. Hey, but that circuit, hey, when it talks about that, there's a feedback loop. Hey, between the music, the musicians, and me, and I bring some energy. Hey, people will always be like, God, you have a lot of energy. I'm like, yes, I do. And I'm offering it to you. And I'm offering it not only to that family, that music family, I'm offering it to my AA family, and I'm offering it to my physical family, but I'm offering it to my students. There's a circuit, and I love that. So whatever you're getting, like whatever you're putting out, hey, you're receiving. So if you're putting out a bunch of negativity, like, oh, this is a dumpster fire, and look at this thing, blah, 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 blah. Hey, all that negativity that I can spew out, you know, like I can spew some negativity. I don't do that anymore. Like, I don't do that. Like, I may think it, and then I take it to my sponsor. That's where sponsorship comes in, because I'm not going to spew that out on social media or in front of my students or in meetings. Like, I mean, I can be honest with like, I'm struggling with this, but I'm not going to go dump that on a bunch of alcoholics who are trying to get sober. What a douche move. Don't do that. Hey, again, that's what sponsorship is for. And then you can share in a general way, that's what the book says, hey, about how I've been affected by this. And I'm not going to bring, we're not talking politics here. Again, how I'm solving my fear using the steps. God, it's exciting. Again, I get fired up on AA. If you're not fired up on AA, man, do something different. It's very exciting. Okay. It's very exciting. Okay. So this outgoing creation and his people, and then we get it back. The real current, okay, can't flow until I get rid of these dependencies. Hey, broken at depth. He says it. So they've got to be broken and then broken at depth. He reiterated that. Bill's like that. Hey, in Bill's writing, you know that. Look at the big book. Hey, over and over again. You're like, did he just say that? Yeah, he said it because we need to hear it a bunch. Broken at depth. Then I get a glimmer of what adult love really is. Oh, man. So if we examine every disturbance that we have, great or small, there's an unhealthy dependence and a consequence demand. Let us, with God's help, like without God, everybody, and God, as you know, I don't have to tell you all about this. It's God as we understand God. Hey, and whatever that is for you, I don't care. Hey, I'm not going to fight about God with anybody. That's not what I'm here for. I'm like, God, as you understand God. And it also says having a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps. So if you got somebody that's struggling with God, just be like, let's just work the steps. Okay, let's get this wreckage cleared away, and then the sunlight of the Spirit's going to enter into you. Sam reminded me that when I spoke at the Fellowship of the Spirit a couple of years ago, I was coming out of a pretty serious spiritual ritual. Like, I do crazy things to get down with God, like intense things to get down with God. Okay, and I'm willing. That's that at depth. Hey, what are you willing to do to cozy up with the Creator? Well, that's where it gets exciting. That's where you're like, that's the juice. Hey, again, what am I willing to do to ask God to come into this deal? And then I'll be honest with you, like there's huge parts of my life where I'm like, God's got it. Hey, I can say that God's got it. Hey, but there's always pieces of my life, particularly human relationships with gentlemen, where I want to control it. Okay, God, I got this. I got this over here. You can have most of my life, my family, my child, my mom, all that, but I got this. That's where I'm screwing up. That's where I continue to screw up and I get to continue to learn lessons. I love learning. God, man, it's just exciting. Okay. It's just exciting to think about that. Okay. So we can be set free to live and love and gain emotional sobriety. Okay, so now I'm going to jump over to this spiritual calculus thing because this is pretty awesome. Okay, so watching the AA of 6 months working with the new 12-step case. If the case says to the devil with you, I love it. That's such a old-timey thing. I love old-timey language. Like people get all they get all butthurt because the book is old and it has male gender pronouns. Oh my gosh, just look at it for what it is. The devil be with you. We smile and we turn to another case. I've had the last couple of days, I have a former student. I mean, she's been gone. She graduated probably 12 years ago. She texts me at 3 in the morning. Facebook messages me at 3 in the morning, and I shut my phone off, y'all. I'm an old lady. Mama needs to sleep. I know some of us, you leave your phones on. Well, good for you. Mama's got to sleep. But at 3 in the morning, and then I'll wake up the next morning, and it'll be this she needs help, And so immediately, as soon as I get up at 5, because I get up early, because I'm a school teacher, I'll reach out to her, and she won't respond to me, or she won't meet. I'm always like, let's meet at a meeting. Hey, I'll meet you at a meeting. Let's meet at a meeting. Okay, that's what we do. I'm not gonna. She wanted me to come get her at 3 in the morning at one time, and I'm just like, that's not how we roll, sister. It's not how the big book says we do this. I don't know. Talk to your sponsor. But then she won't respond, and so here's to the devil with you. You know what I mean? It's like, I love you. I'm willing to help you. I'm willing to go to any length to help another alcoholic, but you got to walk with me, and I cannot work harder than you. Hey, I will not work harder than you. And if you want what I want, you do what I do, and I'm not asking too much. There's a recipe for success in Alcoholics Anonymous, I believe. It's called a home group. It's called service commitments. It's being a sponsor. It's being sponsee, being sponsored. I mean, it's not rocket science. We always try to jack it up. We're like, oh, I'm going to do this, or I got to go to AA graduate school. Well, just do the work. How about that? How about Hugh? The steps? I'm going to use that. You guys know my poor sponsees are going to hear this all week long, those poor bastards. All right, so he doesn't feel frustrated. He turns his love. You give your love and attention to other alcoholics. Yet none is given back to him. And there's been those moments for all of us. Anybody who's sponsored people, there's these moments where you are literally I feel like sometimes I'm pouring my life into these people, pouring everything I have into them. And sometimes they go back. Sometimes they leave. Sometimes you never see them again. Sometimes you speak at their funerals. That's a tough one. If you've had to do that, that was brutal. My girl, her name was Liz. Oh, she was so beautiful. You could always tell when she was in a bad mood because she'd put bright red lipstick on, I loved it. I'd be like, oh, she's pissed. Something's on, you know what I mean? She went back out and she died. And her family, I get to the funeral, I just thought I was going to kind of, show up and show respects. And her mom walks up to me and she's like, we would like you to speak. Okay. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, there she is. Oh, here's the whatever the pamphlet they give you at the funeral home. There's my speech. You're going to face incredible adversity in Alcoholics Anonymous. I miss her so much. You know, and that sucks. That sucks that I have to think about her and miss her right now. But I do know that I get, because of her, I'm a better sponsor. Because of what I learned from that situation. Okay? And again, that's when it talks about this. Again, I don't feel rejected, but I rejoice that my one-time son prospect is sober and happy. And that's not always, okay? That's not always that. And then it talks about him as, I love this. Wait a minute, all of a sudden I'm hooking up with my, I don't know, that's hilarious, sorry. Because then it says if his next case turns out to be later to be his best friend or romance, then the sponsor is more joyful. I don't know, maybe I'm reading that wrong. Because I'm like, am I hooking up? I know I'm reading that wrong. Okay? But he well knows that happiness is his byproduct. The extra dividend of giving without demand for any action, so without demand for a return. Says this isn't a new idea. This is how he finishes it. This isn't a new idea. Okay? My brain no longer races compulsively in either elation or grandiosity or depression. I've been given a quiet place in the bright sunshine. Oh my God, what a beautiful essay. You know, I'm super excited to be here with y'all tonight to talk about these wonderful like revelations, you know, and just while talking to you, I get to have revelations. And that's what this is about. Like, it's about like continuing to be like in love with Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I say it so much around here. People are like, you know, I probably annoy people, and that's okay. God gave me exuberance. God gave me, I'm an extrovert, there's no denying it, you know, but what he also gave me was the opportunity to walk into an AA meeting, right, to be gathered up by those people and to be taught and to continue to be taught. Okay? And that's what I'm hoping for all of us is like, this growth never has to end. Like, you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to get, this is my favorite. My sponsor, one time I was stuck and she looked at me and she goes, quit furnishing your ruts, Elaine. If you're in a rut, you got to change it. And you got to change it. And it's hard. And sometimes, again, you're going to have to go back. And again, for me, in the last couple of years, I've had to go back and I've had to look at these ideas that I've told myself since I was a child. That I was not enough, that I was not smart enough, that I was always going to be flawed, hey, that I was ugly, hey, all of those old ideas. The book says you got to get rid of those old ideas. Some of those are pervasive. They are at your core. But if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to hew them away, hey, you can change. And then I love it, that last line, I can sit in a quiet place in the bright sunshine. What a beautiful promise. I love this program so much, and I'm so excited to talk to y'all about this tonight. It reminds me how much I'm in love with AA and how much I'm in love with like doing this work, being willing to do this work. So I am on a timer. This is hilarious. I set my timer for my students. I'm like 45 minutes. I'm talking 45 minutes. I got a minute 30 left. That's how mama rolls, people. That's called the lesson plan. Damn. So I'm really grateful to be here tonight. Sam, thanks for asking me to be here. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say. That's all I have. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Elaine. Holy shit. You guys imagine having her as a high school teacher, you know? I mean, I think I probably wouldn't have dropped out in the 10th grade, you know, if I'd have had her up in there. So yeah, you have so much energy. It reminds me of that word, you know, I always love when people talk about it all the time. That word enthusiasm means to be in theos, to be in God. I love that. Just transferring that to other people. And that's what makes this so much fun. So you talked about some of your ruts. I mean, you obviously have a lot of energy and a lot of mental horsepower and a lot of stuff going on up there. That's got to be tough sometimes, huh? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like when you know what I mean? It's how you live. And what I know about this exuberance and this energy is like, this is God given. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
cherish what God gives you. Sam, what I really know is like like when I was an active drunk, like I was a bitter, cynical, sad, awful woman. That poor little girl. I always think about her. I'm like, oh, that poor little thing. But like, as much like joy as I exude, like that was the darkness that I lived in. Like nothing was gonna be good. It was all bad. It was all like and it's like they talk about like the psychic change. That's what they talk about. Like I had a psychic change, and I sleep good, dude. Like people are always like, where do you have that energy? I sleep like a rock, dude. You can count me down. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. Hey, I'm out. Again, I burn hot. But I do take a lot of self care. I had to change my eating a while back. I was eating really another 12-step recovery program I might add. But I have to take care of that so that I have that energy. But then when you see people, Bud, like even in these little screens, it's our second week of school. Like I am so excited. Like every time they show up, like because we have a like set class times, and I'm like, they're not going to show up. Nobody's going to show up. Then the little screen populates, and I'm like, they made it. They're here. I get so excited that they're showing up. So I don't know. You got to take care of that light too. I do a lot of things to nurture the light.
Yeah, you found your calling, huh, with your vocation. I mean, that's so great when you get put in that position of just like working for God and using your gifts with that. That's beautiful.
And it's a purpose, dude. And it's so funny because people are like, you're such a great teacher. And I'm like, yeah, you should see me in Alcoholics Anonymous. Like,
Yeah.
I have a primary purpose, and I've known I was going to be a school teacher since I was in third grade. I had a really powerful third grade teacher that changed my life. I'm like, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be. But then because I'm sober, like my first 3 years of my teaching career, I wasn't sober. I wasn't a very good teacher, bud. I wasn't a very good teacher.
So what have been some of kind of the more challenging times in your sobriety? Can you talk about some of those, some of the times where you've been kind of compromised and you go back through the steps and kind of have another surrender experience and lay down some pretty heavy rocks?
Yeah, and I definitely think it's been around human relationships, to be honest. Like I've struggled again. It's like I see people in healthy relationships, and I'm currently in a healthy relationship. It's kind of exciting, or at least so far. Give it a minute. Just kidding. Just kidding. Hey, quit that negativity, Elaine Holmes. But like being married and divorced in Alcoholics Anonymous, that was tough, because like I'd found somebody who was walking the same path I was, sober. He loved cats. He loved music. I thought, oh, this is it. This is the fairy tale. And I was 36 years old. I didn't get married till I was 36, and then for that to fall apart, like was devastating, and it was devastating. And he left me, and that was, I thank God he left me. I'm sorry. I've told him that too. I'm like, thank you for leaving me. That was the best thing you ever did, but that was really difficult, and then I think, and I'll be honest with everybody here, like, my family, in particular, my son and his addiction to alcohol is one of the most difficult things. It's like it's hard to watch somebody you love suffer from the disease that damn near killed you. And we've had that conversation. He's like, Mama, what's your worst nightmare? He's 30 now. At the same age I got sober. Come on, God. But he's like, what's your worst nightmare? And I said, that he goes, is it that I'm gonna die? And I said, and this is so, I go, it's that you're going to suffer terribly from alcoholism and then die. And he's like, well, geez, Mom. And I'm like, we get to be honest with the people that we love, and it's like, it's so interesting to me that we can be so powerful and impactful in the lives of so many people, but sometimes you can't change the path of the people directly around you. You can live a solution and you can offer them. He knows what my life was like before. He lived it. He was 10 when I got sober. He lived my alcoholism probably more than I did, because I was blacked out, and then he knows what it looks like. And sadly, he lost his dad to a drug and alcohol overdose as well. And that was early in my sobriety. I was about 10 months sober when that happened. Losing my people, whether through addiction or just death is hard. Grief is hard. But I mean, there is a solution. And Sam, when I think about that, like all these issues, if I continue to show up, hey, be a participant, like take this stuff to my sponsor. And when she asks me to do work around it, I do what she asks me to do. I don't balk. Hey, again, I don't ever balk. When she tells me to do something, I'm going to do it. And that's that weird, like I told you, I said, I always thought I was a punk rock girl. Man, I want what she has. I'm going to do what she does. She had an accident. She's a teacher too. She's a professor. She broke her leg and she jacked herself pretty good up the last couple weeks. She had surgery yesterday. I get to be there for her. You know what I mean? Even if it's remotely, they're keeping her safe, but I get to, show up. We show up. You got to show up. You got to be here no matter what.
That's great. How is there? So you're looking in the screen. Is there anybody that you would just pick right off that you want to hear from? You probably pick a couple of them.
Oh my God, Jeff, and I need to hear your voice tonight, bud.
My name's Jeff, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. I am always in awe when I get to be around my friend. Tom, Juanita, Elaine, and I were spoken in Colorado some time ago, and I get up on a podium, and here's this crazy woman and her sponsees, and they got notebooks out, and they're like writing stuff down, and are they going to grade me, or what's going on here? And I didn't get it. And I was really, I tried to be respectful, and I said, so what are you doing? And I didn't do it from the podium. And she said, you guys say the greatest stuff. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to miss it. And I think Liz was there, wasn't she? Liz was there, and what a beautiful young woman. Foundationally, I'm never going to make it. I'm always not enough. And it's been a while. I mean, I've been here with this foundational fear. And it's not that I'll lose something I don't have, and whatever Bill says in the 12 and 12, and that doesn't talk to me. It doesn't talk to me at all, and it's mostly because I don't know. I've never had great financial or career success, I think, although I've got a college degree and a half, and I'm on my 4th career, and I live in a beautiful home, and yada, 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 but I don't think I'm successful. But it's that I'm not enough. I'm not enough. And I kind of came to this the other day. I'm 70 years old. I don't care. I don't care if I'm not enough. I am enough. Yeah, I don't have to apologize to anybody. I've done a lot in my life. We had some controversy last year, and I looked at my principal, and we were discussing this, and I said, well, it doesn't bother me. And he said, how come? I said, well, by God, I'm smarter than they are, and I've done more, and I'm better looking. And he said, well, you got part of that right, and I don't know what. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't come back. And my co-teacher and I were talking about pretty mundane, how are we going to take attendance, whatever. And my head's starting to hurt because the old feelings that we're not going to figure it out, we're not going to be enough, we're going to make a mess, come back. And what comes to me? I know somebody that's doing this. I know somebody that's teaching remote, and they're doing it now. And I looked at my coach. I said, I got to call Elaine. He said, who's Elaine? I said, you're going to know in a minute who Elaine is. And wow, did I feel better. So what's the lesson? Don't hide. Don't isolate. Don't keep that stuff that we think people, if I open my soul, if I open my chest to you, you're going to look in there and say, whoa, no, throw that one back. I can't bear my soul to you. You're going to say, I don't want that one. But I need to bear my soul to you. I need to call Elaine. I need to call Tom or Gary, whoever it may be, whoever will get on the phone. and say, this is what's going on. I'm going crazy. And they say, yeah, I am too. Let's talk about it. It's the old metaphor about the guy that falls in the hole and doesn't know how out, Nobody can help him get out, but the alcoholic jumps in there and says, I know the way out. And it's through God. We were talking at the meeting last night, and they brought up HALT, which kind of, I didn't take anybody's inventory. But I thought, what are we really talking about? We're talking about let go, let God. Because, I want my kids to do A, B, and C. But mostly I want them there with me. I want those kids in front of me. And yeah, I know we got all this stuff going on. The dumpster's on fire. That's in a different classroom. My classroom's not on fire. My classroom's a sanctuary. My classroom doesn't have to do all this other stuff that you other normal teachers have to. Because I'm like old, remember? And I know a lot. And no, that's not true. I need to play nice with others. And God says we need to take care of our fellows. We need to be sane. We need to be safe. And we'll figure it out. We were registered. We're giving kids laptops today. So they're coming in with mom and they're getting their laptops. And so I went into the main building so I could be with some of the kids, and the teacher said to me, that this one student of mine, she walked through the door, saw my co-teacher, and just lit up. She just lit up. She was so happy. And she said, so how are we going to do this? I said, I don't know, Trinity, but you're smart. We'll figure it out. You are living in a time that you'll talk about 25 years from now. And we get to be here with these young people. And God has put me in a position, and Elaine, in a position, and others of you that work with young people, to share this great adventure with them. And I'd lie to you if I said it isn't stressful. My life was stressful before. And I've always got a dumpster burning someplace. There's always a dumpster on fire. Do I pay attention to the dumpster, or do I look for the good? And, as long as I stay with you all, I can stay on the high road. I can look for the good. And I can love the opportunities I have today. And I wouldn't have missed this for the world. Tom Hughes tells us, you got to come to this. This is the best meeting going. And thank you, Sam, and whoever put this together. And I get to see my friend Kate and others of you in this Hollywood Squares format. I just love it. It's just crazy. So, yeah, that's enough. I'm done. I've overstayed my welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Elaine, who's next?
I saw my friend in a sombrero. I think John H. Are you out there? I saw your sick ass hat. I got a call on you.
Hi, I'm John. I'm an alcoholic. Hello, Elaine. So great to see you.
Hey, Jeff.
This is they call me Amish John in the other meetings. That they sent it to me as a joke. So now I wear it to all of them. I'm so happy to see you tonight. My dad texted me and said, with your face, do you know this chick? And I was like, oh, it's Elaine. I got to get on. And I dropped what I'm doing. So I want to share a second of an Elaine story because that year that she spoke at FOTS and had that spiritual experience before FOTS, we were like, where the hell's Elaine? She's speaking. And somehow she managed to find our cabin. It's the morning. We're all asleep and there's a sweet smell of bacon and the roar of Guns N' Roses all of a sudden coming from our kitchen. And we come out and there's Elaine like, wake up, we're doing it. I'm talking this morning. And out we went, fresh bacon and some good rock and roll stories. And you just filled me up today, Elaine. It's so good to see you. I've been having a rough couple of weeks and you just spoke to my heart. So thanks. I don't think I have much to share. I was here to listen tonight and I'm so happy I got to jump on. And Elaine, I just love you. You know, Elaine does so much music. I probably go to 100 shows a year, and I see her at like 80 of them, and she's dragging her mother to the other 350 days of the year, just so everybody knows. And she drives all the way down here from Fort Collins, goes nuts on a school night to 3 a.m., hops in the car, and goes home. She's crazy. She's awesome. And God, I sure love you. Thank you.
God, I can't believe it. Guns N' Roses and bacon. I mean, I'd marry your ass right now if I weren't already. I mean, God, that's some good shit right there. Tom Yule had a question.
Here I am.
Hey,
Tom,
buddy.
Elaine, thanks so much. That was fabulous. Couldn't have been better. I love you so much. And we have a mutual love of live music, I think. Did I give you my movie? Did I? I did, okay. So one of the things, you know, for years I tried to get you to speak at FOTS. And every year we'd try, you'd be in India or some damn place with the kids, you know. And so finally when you could, I was really excited. And it was fantastic. It was really great. And, but I borrowed something from that talk that I've really gotten a lot of mileage out of. And I wished you would talk about the evidence book, the journal that your sponsor had you start when you first got sober, because I wished I'd some of that, but could you speak to that?
That's really cool.
Oh, Tom, Juanita, nice to see you too. It's so lovely. What a cool, like, you meet these people like once, y'all, and then you have like family for your lifetime. And Tom has repeatedly, we're Facebook friends, and like we always reach out. He shares his love of music with me. He's sent me like whole batches of CDs, which then I like burned and then gave to my home group. We have a CD lending library. So Tom, I got a bunch of mileage out of that too. So, but thank you. And thank you for reminding me. And when it was so funny when Jeff talked about it. So y'all, I keep a journal and I always have it. Okay. And so that's like when Jeff started talking about it, I'm like, oh, it's right here. And this has to do with, it actually came from an older gentleman who went to Loveland meetings. Loveland is a meeting down, Loveland is a town down the road. And he talked about journaling. And I'll never forget it. He was just a very quiet man. He was on, by that time he was on like an oxygen machine. And he said something about journaling. And he looked at me and he goes, it works for me. And I'm like, okay, you know, and I wanted what he had. He was quiet and he was calm. And it goes back to that line about peaceful. He had a peaceful, quiet mind. And so what I've done for years, my poor family, God, when I pass, they're going to find these things everywhere. Every time I go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, I take a journal with me. I have them. They're all over the house. They're all over the house. I write down 12 things I'm grateful for a day because there's 12 frickin' steps, y'all. And it's usually the same things. It's like God, AA, my other recovery programs, my cat, coffee. Hey, it's repetitive, but it's like it sets my mind. Hey, and then I listen to what you say in these rooms. And like for years, I have written this stuff down, and granted, a lot of it is super repetitive. But a lot of it is like these profound, you know? So, you know, here's my walking orders. It says, love and forgiveness, be a loving mirror. Who said that? And I don't know who said that. Hey, but to be a loving mirror, I radiate your love. I'm like, people are always like, oh, you're so bright. I'm like, I'm radiating the love I get in Alcoholics Anonymous. Be a loving mirror. All right. I mean, there's just all these, you know, I can go through, I mean, it's usually underlined. Oh, the age is, I mean, and half of it's the same stuff. It says the age of miracles is still with us. You know, say what I mean. We mean what I say, and don't say it mean. What? That's awesome. You know what I mean? It's like these repetitive, out of the mouths of alcoholics come like the most profound statements that I get to live by. So I carry a journal with me to every meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I write down what you say because I believe it. And now I've got like my daily readers. Like you can go anywhere on my bookshelves or in my bathrooms or in my bedroom. They're on my bookshelves. You can open up a page and you can find the wisdom of Alcoholics Anonymous in these pages. I know, like I said, my son's going to be like, did she really write like, don't drink, don't drink today, 500 times in a journal? Yeah, sometimes I need to be reminded of that.
So just to follow up on that, the thing I remember, and maybe I made it up, maybe I just heard it and you didn't say it, was that someone, your early sponsor said, when these God shots happen, these like coincidences, that, you know, are just beyond, you know, normal reality. Write them down, because someday you'll need to go back and go, oh yeah, I remember that. There is a God, that kind of thing. That's what I was talking about.
No, and I did say that, Tom. Thanks for reminding me of that, because I do that too. Like, there's those sweet moments, like, and it's always just so funny because I'll give you an example and then I'll be quiet. Like, one time I did a 12-step call and it was a nightmare. Like, we had to wrestle this girl to a recovery center in northern Colorado over in Greeley. I get there, I finally get her in that goddamn door, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God I got her over there. She calls me and says, I'm out, I'm leaving, I'm not staying. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We just spent 12 hours getting you in here, sister. Literally, the on the other line, here's God, this is God. The other line rings, I pick it up. It's from the same recovery center. It's another sponsee, former sponsee who's in the detox, and they know each other. These two girls know each other. She's like, I'm in detox, Elaine, and I just want to let you know I'm gonna get sober, you know. And I'm like, can you see so-and-so at the front desk? And she's like, oh yeah, I can see her. I'm like, go tackle her. Don't let her leave. You know what I mean? And it was hilarious, because how was that not God? How was that not God? Hey, that again, both of those girls happened to be there at that moment. And again, that one girl tackles the other girl and they both stayed in detox that night. That's the evidence of God. Hey, and so like, write that stuff down whenever it happens in your life. And Tom, thanks. You know, I write it down, like, and it can be little things. You know what I mean? Like, I have kids who are like super ungrateful, you know, where they're like, well, there's nothing good in the world. And I'm like, I scream, cats walk the earth. You know what I mean? It's like, that's evidence of God to me. Okay, that's the evidence of God. But man, if you stick around and if you keep your eyes open, and then I love it. I do remind myself, and then these books remind me, but then just those sweet moments, man. I love it. I get fired up. God's here. God is here.
Oh yeah, totally. So I've had some people message and ask how to get recordings. So if you're on Facebook, we don't have a SoundCloud thing, but if you are on Facebook, the Thoughts Family Group, or you can message me and I can invite you to that, and I post the talks on that, or I can post whatever one you want, just back and forth on Messenger or whatever. So anyway, so let's have anyone who wants to raise their hand. Anybody want to share? We got some time left, and anybody have a question or a comment or anything they'd like to throw out there? What about Lauren M. from Nashville, Tennessee?
Hi guys, I'm Lauren. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Lauren.
Elaine, that talk, there were moments where, I mean, you know, talking about a God shot, thank you so much. I love your energy, and it's just super contagious. Like, my heart was racing during it. I was like, yes, you know, and there's so things that you need to hear. And, you know, just, I love how you broke down the letter and you just went word by word. And it's interesting too, because you can read something and pull something completely different, and then you hear a different perspective and you're like, yeah, I get that too. So thank you so much. And I can't tell you how much I needed to hear that tonight. And it's just energizing for my soul. And I mean, immediately when you started, I texted Sam, I was like, I want what she has. Like, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just so contagious, and it kind of, you know, I love the part when you were talking about, you know, just that putting that negativity out into the world. And it's like, I feel like sometimes my brain is like a hamster wheel, and I go, and it's just, and it turns into this like rabbit hole, and then this negativity flows, and it's just like, and we really have to remind ourselves at times just to be present and bring ourselves back to, you know, that God, like what you just said, God is here. He really is. And I just, you know, I mean, my heart's racing right now. So, I can't thank you enough. It was, anytime these meetings, it's like, you know, we come to them and I'm, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. It's been a long day, you know, but I'll get on, you know, and I'm going to just show up, like what you were talking about, just showing up. And, I pulled so much from it. So, thank you. And I'm super grateful to everyone in here tonight, and, especially to you for your energy. And, yeah, that's all I got.
That's awesome. Somebody raised their hand. Are you on there, Elaine? You can unmute yourself. You can call on people. People are usually get a little freaked out to share right after somebody in this meeting, but you know, you just got to pick on them.
Agreed. I was like, ah.
I was looking, my friend from Australia was here, but I don't see him anymore. So I was like, oh, no. There he is, there he is. Casey, will you share, please?
Casey, come on with it.
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm an alcoholic.
Casey.
Yeah, I was a little late. I got my times mixed up, so I missed most of what you shared, Elaine, but caught the tail end there. And yeah, it's great to hear your voice. It's great to feel your energy from across the world here. Yeah, it's funny. She sent me this meeting was going on yesterday, and it was right after I'd just been talking about her, which is right after I'm not sure if I quit my job, I got fired, or we were taking a break. And so I came home in this like crazy state. And the guy I work for, he's also in the program. So we had a little, a pretty hard discussion yesterday, and it got pretty weird. And I came home. So I'm not sure if I quit, I'm fired. I'm like, it's not a great time to not have a job right now. And I made a bunch of phone calls. I started calling, I called my sponsor, called my other pseudo sponsor. I called 4 other guys in the program, and nobody answered. So I sat there, I was in my head, and I just I knew what I had to do. And it was, I just needed to call and at least make an amends for my part, clean up my side of the street. So I called the guy I work for. I told him, what I did was, I've been a shitty employee the last 2 days, and I called you an asshole, and that was wrong. And so once I got that out, he did a little apology. We started rapping. It all started just going real. We made up. We were, we wanted to hug each other, and and then somehow, I don't know how, but Elaine came up, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, she's this chick that's, in my first meetings, first week of sobriety, I did 90-90, and it was one of my first meetings, and I remember just Elaine's energy coming in the room when she shared. And I went back to that meeting, which was my home group for years. After that, she'd come to the meeting, and just I couldn't wait for her to share. And I didn't talk to her. I didn't really talk to her for a year. But I just loved her shares and that energy. And then I started seeing her. I decided, in early sobriety, I could start going out to shows again. I started seeing her around at concerts, live concerts, and it was just great to know that somebody else was into this stuff. And I felt a little safer every time I'd see her at a show, and it was great. And then one night, one New Year's Eve, I was at a punk show, and there's Elaine, and she's standing with another fellow that I had met a couple times in the room. And this is a year into my sobriety, which I'd been pushing off sponsors left and right, and I was just miserable in my head. And there she was standing next to this guy, and Ken ended up being my sponsor, taking me through the steps and getting me sober and changing my life and saving my life. And somehow now I ended up in Australia. But the program's going strong down here too. We're doing what we can do on these Zoom meetings, and it's great to see all you Americans and hear your accents. So thanks, Elaine. Love you. Cheers.
Yeah, I think we had a good turnout. Yeah, that's great, man. Thank you so much for sharing. We had a great turnout tonight. I was worried we might have thinned the herd out a little bit after last week. We started, hearing my boy Kenny and Jim going off on the Emmett Fox and talking about the Christ child within, and you start to see some of these old blue collar AA cowboys looking over. The hell did he just say? Just really looking like they're trying to stare at the computer, and it's and I'm like, oh no. It might take a break for a week or two, but I'm glad you brought us right back into this. I thought they did a phenomenal job, by the way. I really like it. You ought to get that recording. It was really cool. They did some Emmett Fox stuff that was really neat that I really enjoyed. But, every now and then I can see all the little squares. And some of these guys you see with the overalls on, they're like, what in the F did he just say right there? That ain't no AA. That don't sound like no big book AA to me. I don't know what he's talking about. That don't sound like came out of the big book to me. I'm so happy that we had such a great meeting. Thank you guys so much. Now, Elaine, I always try and ask somebody right before we shut her down, is there anything, oh, you know what I want to ask you before you do this? I want to make sure you do this. So you talked about getting rid of some of those ideas and some of those old ideas and some of your challenges with that. And I think that's a big part of, you know, kind of shedding our skin and awakening up more and more spiritually, is not being bound in those boxes of some of those old ideas. What are some of those old ideas, and what are some of the things that you did for me? And I know me personally, I inventory them. I really liked how Bobo talked about inventory. I learned how to do that a long time ago. That's really cool. But what are some of the things that you do to kind of shed off some of these old principles, etc.?
Yeah, Sam, thanks for that question. And again, I do think it's that work at depth. You know, when Bill's talking about you got to break those bonds, man, you got to break that stuff down. For me, and I'm just going to be honest, I've been doing some pretty intensive step work in the program of ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. Really powerful program. You know, I know it's not for everybody, but it's for me. You know, and that has been really crucial, hey, for me to get at those core ideas, like I'd mentioned, Sam, of like, not enough, man. There is something like that has plagued me my entire being, like that I was never going to be enough. You know, whatever that was, like, and whether it was pretty or skinny or rich or smart or whatever, I was always less than. Like that was the core. That was my foundational belief, you know, and it's taken a lot of work, hey, both in 12-step recovery, like definitely doing, like you're talking about, doing that inventory, but also just going back and being like, where did that come from? Hey, why did I cling, or why do I cling to that? And I was telling my students today, like there's times like in academic settings, like I'm a big dog, you know what I mean? All I have to do is finish writing this paper, and I'll be a doctor, you know. But there'll be times when I'm sitting in these groups of academics, and they'll start like listing off their accomplishments, you know what I mean? They'll start like, you know, oh, I cured cancer, blah blah blah, and they're all like hoity-toity, and man, I start to feel like a little girl, you know. I start to feel like that little like I'm not going to be enough little girl, and I can feel myself shrink, you know. And then I told my students today that lasts for about 5 minutes, because then I'll start listening to them talk, and they're boring. They're not funny. And I'm like, oh, you're boring. Oh, I'm fine. You're boring. I'm cool. You know, it just makes me laugh because, and that's not to say like I'm not trying to one up, but you have to celebrate your strengths. Like I'm never going to speak like an academic. I can. I mean, I can put on the language of the, you know, the well-to-do, what is it? I love that line in the big book where the coat of tan that one sees on the well-to-do. Hey, I can put that freaking coat on. Hey, but it's much more awesome to be authentic. And that's what people love. And that's what teenagers love. And that's what people respond to. No matter like what, I'm authentically flawed. I think Confucius says that it's better to be a flawed diamond than a pebble. I got to remember that. I have to teach that soon. It's okay to be flawed. Hey, it's okay to be flawed, but celebrate your strengths. There are things that I'm good at. And again, really focus on that, and like, you know, like don't cling to that, like, oh, I'm not going to be enough, or this isn't going to be right, or man, let go of that stuff. Celebrate what you're good at, and then accentuate it. Like I'm funny, man. I'm funny as hell, dude. I love to laugh. I'm obnoxious. I love to cuss. God, why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just exciting it's like you finally get to explore yourself because you're sober. You get to explore who you want to be. That's the thrill. Like I finally get to be who I'm supposed to be, and I never could do that because I was so inebriated, okay, that I didn't even know who I was. Now I know who I am, and now I get to grow. That's exciting. That's that's emotional sobriety. That's emotional sobriety, I think.
It was beautiful. Thank you. It was such a privilege to have you on tonight. And in our usual fashion, we'll close, we'll mute ourselves and just inwardly say, go to our inner room, say the Lord's Prayer to ourselves, and then meet you back. And thank you all for a great meeting. Thank you guys for a great night. Much love.